Hello. We are here today for Actionstep's Roadmap to Implementation Part 4, Training and Preparing for Go Live. My name is Justin Werner. I'm the Managing Director and Legal Engineer at Sageness. We are a legal technology company and certified gold partner of Actionstep, the only practice management solution we recommend. Rolling out a new software to your team can be stressful and overwhelming. Focusing on best practices, training, and a rollout process will make the transition exciting and enjoyable for all users. Today I will go over developing your rollout and training plans for an Actionstep implementation. There is a lot of information that needs to be exchanged and developed as a part of creating a custom Actionstep system. Having a solid rollout process, leaving room for preparing to go live, and making the perfect training schedule will ensure all the details are configured properly and a smooth transition for all users. A successful system rollout involves our team of consulting, engineering, and project management working together with the firm's project management team to develop accurate timelines for key milestones and training. This is our Actionstep team at Sageness, who each have unique experiences to lead certain parts of our projects. The most important part of a system rollout are how you communicate with your users about the rollout and how quickly your team can use the new system productively. While your certified consulting partner handles the technical side of your rollout, you handle the human side. Creating a custom system requires a true understanding of the tasks that each user needs to complete and how those tasks will be completed going forward. Even small tasks that are overlooked can decrease the efficiency of the system and the experience for everyone. How you capture the fine details varies from firm to firm based on how each firm works. We can interview your team directly and understand the tasks they complete and any issues or inefficiencies they've been experiencing and would like to improve. You can appoint a project manager on your team to lead the project and conduct those interviews to develop the appropriate processes and configurations. You could even do it as a group if your team works more collaboratively. The most important thing is capturing all the details for each user and going through those tasks to make sure they are all accounted for as part of your process development or modification. After communicating with all your team, you will also have a firm understanding of who may need what type and style of training. Addressing any concerns with the type of training is preferred or possible challenges will all be discussed during those communications. With that information, you'll have everything you need to finalize your training plan and timeline. With so much going on to get ready to launch your system and running your law firm, it's no surprise that it can become overwhelming quickly. No matter how well you plan, it's important to manage the project timeline and make sure you fully understand what tasks or information are dependent on each other to continue working on the project. Even with proper project management and communication, there are loose ends and fine details that need to be reviewed prior to system launch. As these things come up for review, other things will be put aside, so it's best to plan to review everything to eliminate confusion later in the project. With a strong rollout process in place, preparing to go live involves reviewing it from start to end to ensure all questions have been answered and all configurations are in place. Your project timeline and key milestones will be reviewed to ensure every detail was completed. Although each implementation is unique, there are best practices for system rollouts that include having a complete rollout process and getting training right for each member of your team. Some of the best practices for system rollouts include identifying users' specific needs by understanding what each user needs to do in the system. Breaking down what each user needs to do will help you identify any processes that need to be updated with the change and provides the necessary information for training to be properly organized and prioritized. Everyone is doing different jobs in the firm, and it's important to understand early in the project what each user's specific needs are. Many times, reviewing this information can go along with creating your workflows. How your team will handle client inquiries, scheduling consultations, court hearings, accessing and storing documents, and communication will apply to both ensuring your configurations are correct and creating your workflows, tasks, and automation. Reviewing these processes in detail will ensure consistency in the design and configuration and allow you to focus on leveraging the available automation features. You're also going to want to communicate to your team why they and the firm need to make the change to Actionstep. Some people just resist change. If your entire team understands the purpose behind the change, they may be more willing to embrace it. If it's not embraced, if it's not embraced, you have already made clear by this point the change and why it's happening. You can also address and mitigate concerns any of your team has while obtaining valuable feedback that will improve your rollout. Training will be taken seriously when users embrace the change and feel engaged in the process. They will focus more on learning the layers of the system and how they can use that to improve the efficiency of their job. You're going to want to plan training and time it accordingly as well. While developing your training plan, you should consider whether any of your users should be exposed to the system prior to deployment, whether users should watch webinars or demos of features prior to training to become familiar with the available features, and what group training should be segmented into. In some projects, advanced training is done so that the firm can internally continue to develop their system or create their own document templates. We enjoy offering an extended training schedule for 90 days after your go-live launches. In our experience, so many new ideas can come to your users after the system is launched and they are working through it. As they become more comfortable, we can increase the level of training relevant to the user experience. Because laws, regulations, and policies do not change, it's helpful for certain users to continue their training and build more skills to administer the system, build more document templates, or make updates to things on their own. There can be a lot of value in additional training for the right users so they can improve and build it onto your system without the need to re-engage a consulting partner and incur additional expenses. You're going to also want to anticipate life after deployment. Identify your coaches and experts that can assist and encourage other users and work that into your training plan if appropriate. Understand how individual user assistance will be provided at the go live and after. Technical support can be provided either by your consulting partner or in-house. At Sageness, we become our client's first point of contact for user assistance. We provide live remote sessions with screen sharing and/or short one-to-one video demonstrations customized for you and your users. Even with training and overviews, a system is still very new to users until they get the chance to start working in it. This is an important phase of the project, and the best outcomes is focused on adding automations and document templates. However, depending on the level of feedback and input you considered for your users, it can feel chaotic to change the way they have been working. The more feedback you get from your team, the better life after deployment is. Regardless of how well you've executed your project, you will at a minimum still need to plan for basic technical support and user assistance. There are two types of training that will be needed for your team: processes and technical. Processes training focuses on best practices and expectations for using a system. If you just add users and tell them to start using it, they will all use it in different ways. It will quickly become chaotic, and it will be difficult to glean the full value from the system and its data. This training will be for all users and should be customized based on your specific processes, covering everything the users will need to work productively. In some projects, it makes sense to break this down into specific groups, such as support staff, accounting, and attorney groups, based on how each department will use the system. If you are rolling out our processes to your team for the first time or are making significant changes to the processes they are used to, we recommend doing a group orientation overview of the processes prior to training. Technical training focuses on where information is in the system, how to use the different functionality in administrator settings. This training should be provided to users that will be administering the system. Users that work on the project team that need to have a full understanding of functionality and features for development, and any users you feel would benefit from training beyond the day-to-day use. Once you have broken down any applicable groups for your training processes and identified the users that will do technical training, you can create a training schedule based on the key milestones of your project, based on what makes sense for your rollout plan and users. Some users may want layers of training to first understand basics and then learn more about specific areas such as administrator settings, building workflows, automating tasks, creating custom data collections, or coding document templates for generation. We use a variety of training methods to cover needs for a variety of users, including in-person or live remote group orientations and training, long-form training videos, short one-to-one training videos on specific topics or features, and continued support after your system launch. Developing a well-oiled rollout process. First thing you're going to want to look at here is looking at your processes and procedures. By this point of the implementation, only minimal alignment between your processes and your system should be required. However, it's important to go over your processes that each user completes to ensure there are no gaps between your existing processes and the way your users will work in Actionstep. Run through completing the basic tasks, including creating a contact, client intake, creating a new matter, and use it as an opportunity to fine-tune those processes. This is an area where the more time you spend capturing your processes, the more value you will receive from the system. You want to be able to provide basics like data entry on potential clients, naming matters, and using tags to ensure your entire team completes the task in a uniform way. If you are establishing or modifying processes that will start with Actionstep, it's a good idea to roll these out in advance so that everyone is expecting the changes. Take this time to do a final review of your processes and decide if there is anything additional you would like to add in. Maybe you've always wanted to send correspondence letters to clients at a specific milestone, but it's never been important enough to disrupt the workflow. Would you like to have more done when a client's matter is concluded and closed? This is the perfect time to review any goals or wish lists you've had and make sure you've taken the opportunity to build them in. You're also going to want at this point to audit your existing software integrations and prepare data. Do a final review of your current software and make sure everything has been accounted for in your system, design, and migration. Review any integrations you will be using and determine if any users or third parties need training for those integrations. Test and sample the integrations to ensure that everyone understands how the softwares work together and what, if any, customizations are available on the integration. Review your data migration plan and consider if your data needs cleansing prior to migration. Data may be duplicate, outdated, contain application and system data files, or stored in locations that have not been accounted for in your migration plan. Not only will this ensure that all your data gets into Actionstep correctly, but it can eliminate problems during the migration process that can cause delays. It is much easier to clean up your data before it's imported into Actionstep. Thoroughly reviewing your data and making plans for any cleanup should be started at the beginning of the project so that any issues can be addressed, decisions can be made, and timelines can be adjusted if necessary. It can also help structure some of the configuration and design options for your system, as while you are reviewing and preparing your data, you are bringing it all together and learning how it will become one system. At this point, you're also going to want to review your key milestones and communications. Consider assigning a change manager or project manager that will be the main point of contact for your team and make it clear that this is the person users should contact when it comes to questions, training, feedback, and other information. This can be someone on your team, or if your consulting partner provides it as a service, that could be an option as well. Create a timeline for your training and go live based upon the milestones in your project. Key milestones to have in your timeline are the training schedule, the data migration, when a full switch will occur, and the billing accounting migration plan. We plan time to finish off accounting in the weeks following the go live, assisting with the first monthly or mass billing process if needed, and closing off the old systems. Although you are up and running on your new system, it's important to finish closing off all of your old systems to finalize the project. At Sageness, we create a specific timeline that both we and our clients can follow. It details every part of the system design, configurations, data migrations, and key milestones such as go live and training. Not only does this help keep everyone on schedule, it assists project managers to keep track of and follow up with every detail necessary to complete the project. So in conclusion, your project's going to require the upfront planning, continued project management, and a dedicated period prior to your launch for preparing to go live. During this time, any final questions or configurations can be finalized, and each of your users will be set up for success with a relevant training schedule. Following best practices that can be applied to any project will increase the success and value of your system. The best practices include identifying user-specific needs, communicating with your team about the change, planning for training, and anticipating life after the go live. To get training right for everyone on your team, determine if process overviews are needed, which users will have technical or administrative training, and the timeline for that training for everyone. It's important that your users can start using the system productively on the first day. Develop a rollout process that covers your processes and procedures, auditing your existing software, integrations, review and clean up your data if necessary, Set key milestones and establish your key team members that will be involved or leading the project and available to communicate frequently with your consulting partner. While these projects are a large undertaking, the return on investment is larger. Understanding the time commitment and information that will need to be exchanged is critical to leveraging the features to obtain the return on investment. I hope this information helps give you an idea of what you need to consider in our rollout plan and getting training right for everyone on your team. So I think we can open it up to the question portion. I look forward to answering any questions that you may have, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my presentation.
All right, let's take a look at some of the questions we have that have come in here. Let me see if I can pull them up. So question, how long does it take to roll out a system and go live? This can be a little different for every single firm, depending on the amount of users that are involved, how much data is being migrated, and how many systems are being integrated into the new system. Typically, a rollout takes between 4 to 8 weeks, depending on, again, the size of the firm. But we've had some projects that have gone as long as 12, 16 weeks, so they can go on a little bit longer depending on what's involved. I'd say the average rollout, though, is about 4 to 6 weeks to get completed. How long does training take for the users? So this is a good question because this can involve various different forms of training. Typically, we'll do a group rollout for training. So that group training will typically consist of 2 to 4 hours of training, depending on the group size. This is where we're getting into some of that process training that we discussed in the presentation, and we're really going through the processes of the system, how to use the system, how to navigate it, how to get to your matters, some simple things like that. So that group orientation will typically be about 2 to 4 hours, and then we'll usually break it up into groups from there. Maybe we'll break off attorneys, managing partners, if there's some special things going on there. And then we'll also always do a separate admin training. So administrative functions are going to be a lot different than what the normal users need to do. So we'll have a separate admin training, and that's where we can kind of get a power user going there, being able to use the administrative functions. So we have one more up here right now. Can some users have access to the system during the project to test processes and features? Another great question. I know that you can get a trial to the Actionstep system, but that's going to be basically a bare system, not a lot going on in there. We do offer, Sageness does have a test system that's full of data and test matters, and we can absolutely give access to that system. This is going to be great for some of the users, especially power users, people that are going to have to use the integrations in the system to get some early exposure to the system. I mentioned during the presentation that we offer 90 days of continued support on the system, not just support, but actually active support in the system, building on to the system, adding in new tasks, just because that a lot of this stuff doesn't become apparent until you're actually using the system on a day-to-day basis. So that's when a lot of these things will pop up. So we can absolutely give access to a test system, let users get exposed to some actual real data, actual test matters in there, and start to run through, and that way they can come up with some of these solutions along the way for adding in automated tasks, adding in automated emails, documents to be generated, ensuring certain data collections at certain points in the matter. A lot of these things become more apparent once you're actually using the system. So we have any more questions here? Looks like that's it for the questions today. Again, I appreciate you taking the time to watch our presentation today. There are three other parts to this series, so you can go back and review all those and get a picture of the complete implementation process and see how that might look for your own firm. You can also reach out to us at Sageness at any time at sageness.io. We'll be happy to answer any questions or any concerns that you may have. All right, well, I think we can end it here, add a little bit of time back to our calendars. I appreciate everyone joining today, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, bye.